Hello guys, and welcome to today's video. And today's video will of course be the Elite Series 2 Elite Series 2 controller and Elite Series 2 core controller settings for Modern Warfare 3. But on top of that, later in the video will of course also be my Modern Warfare 3 best settings, so stay tuned for that. If you guys are interested in the Elite Series 2 controller or own the Elite Series 2 controller or core controller, then stick around. I will be discussing that first, my settings for Modern Warfare 3 for those controllers. But if you have no interest in the Elite Series core controller, you have your own PS4, PS5 controller, etc., or some other sort of controller, then feel free to skip to the Modern Warfare 3 settings that are coming later in the video. There will be a timestamp for that, and of course we'll be covering aim assist, sensitivity, dead zones, graphics settings, field of view, you name it, we'll be discussing it. So feel free to skip to that. But if you are interested in the Elite Series 2 controller, whether you have it or whether you're looking for one for Christmas, because Christmas is just around the corner, so I know some of you might be interested in a brand new Pro controller. And let me tell you now, the Elite Series controller is a good Pro controller to get started with, especially for new people trying to get into using a Pro controller. It's a great base to start with. So I'll talk about that as we go through talking about my Elite Series 2 / Elite Series core controller settings. So let's get into it. These are my settings for Call of Duty. Of course, as you can see in the top left, appropriately named Call of Duty. And these are the settings that I use. So as you can see, these are all pretty much normal. But most people probably be interested in the fact that down here are the paddles. Now, yes, it shows the symbols for small paddles at the top here for X and Y, and a long paddle for B here and a long paddle for A. That isn't actually what I use. So what you're seeing on the screen there isn't actually what I use. The only one that I have a paddle in for is A down here, and I'm actually using the small paddle there and not the long paddle. Obviously, A for me is to jump. You'll find that out later in the video when I show you with my MW3 settings, but A for me is to jump. I just personally like it to be set like that. I like to have A to be jump, and having that paddle in allows me to, of course, jump shot without having to take my, thumb off the stick or anything to go and press the A button. It's the only one I use. Yes, there's Y for switching weapons and X for reload and B. If you can use more than one paddle, that's absolutely up to you. Again, every setting that I share with you in this video isn't the be or end all absolute best and is no matter what the only setting you should use. You can use more than one paddle. I just choose to use one paddle. If you're comfortable with two paddles, use two paddles. If you're comfortable with three paddles, use three paddles. And if you're comfortable with four paddles, use four paddles. I've had people tell me in the past that you should really be using all four to make use of the controller. That's absolutely not the case, because the Elite Series controller does also come with even better benefits than most standard controllers, which I'll talk about more as we get through the video. But that's all that's changed here. It's the only thing I do. I have a short paddle for the A button there. Every other paddle isn't actually plugged into the controller at all and just left in the carry case. Other than that, that's the only thing. Let's move on to this left stick, of course. I keep this on default, which is radial. So let's go back. So I keep it on radial, only because it's movement. It doesn't really matter at all. There's nothing crazy with movement. Obviously, you're just strafing left and right, moving backwards and forwards. There's nothing crazy that needs to be done with the left stick, and there's no setting that really, makes a game-changing difference for your movement. However, we will move on to the right stick. Now, this is the money. Now, I do know that the PS5 controller has this setting now, the Pro controller that they have. But on the Elite Series 2 controller and Elite Series core, because you both have access to this setting, and even the normal Elite Series controller, actually, whilst I talk about it, don't really recommend the Elite Series standard controller, because I'll tell you guys now, it might be cheaper than the Elite Series 2 and the Elite Series core, possibly, but the grips on that thing fall off easy as anything. So I wouldn't recommend that controller. I would recommend the Elite Series 2 and the Elite Series core. Mainly Elite Series core, though, just because you can get aftermarket paddles and stuff that are cheaper than Xbox's own paddles, and there's not really a big difference in quality. So I'd personally buy the Elite Series core controller, which is actually the one that I'm using. I did used to have Elite Series 2. I'll talk about why I don't have that controller in a second, but whilst I'm talking about right stick, like I said, this is the source. Calculation, true diagonals. Now, I don't have a hand cam, unfortunately, so you can kind of have to take my word for it. Where I'm moving this stick right now is way more precise than using radial. And as you guys all know, Call of Duty is all about aiming. There's movement as well, but aiming is the be-all end-all, and you want to be as precise as possible. So on the right stick, I have it on true diagonals, and I'll talk about as well stick tension. So if you guys own the Elite Series controllers, you will understand what stick tension is. If not, basically in your carry case, you'll have a little pin thing that you can put into the controller. So if you take your analogs off, you'll see there's like a triangle a quadrant of like a cross in there. You put that little thing into there, the pin thing, and you twist it. And you twist it to basically hit the bottom. So when that hits the bottom, going downwards, that is at its maximum tension. And on the left stick, I leave it on default because, again, there's nothing crazy about the left stick. You can have it on higher stick tension if you want to on the left stick, but on the right stick, I have it on maximum tension. I want that stick to be as stiff as possible so that I'm not overshooting, not pushing too far, pushing too little. Having a bit of resistance there makes it more precise. Trust me, have your stick as stiff as possible on the right stick and have it on true diagonals. Trust me, you'll thank me later, because this is easily the best combo. It just makes this controller absolutely amazing. If you don't like it, you can absolutely change it, of course. I, again, would recommend the true diagonals. I don't think this should be changed whatsoever. But if you think the tension is too much, then feel free to, twist it. There's a middle setting and a normal default setting where it's as loose as possible. You can change it if you want, but me personally, I'm telling you now, have it on the stiffest possible tension. You will absolutely be shooting straighter than anything, trust me. So there's that. Next up, triggers. So again, we could talk about this. So these I've set to 0 and 1. What this means is, as you're going to see, as soon as I press the controller, I don't know if you can hear it through my mic. You shouldn't be able to, but you might be able to. As soon as I press the trigger, that is hitting a full press. So I'd be fully aimed down sight with the left stick, and I'd be fully shooting with the right stick. And as you know, with the right stick, if you're using like a semi-automatic weapon, you're going to want to be hitting that trigger as fast as possible so you can rapidly fire as many bullets as possible. So yeah, I have it set like that. Actual trigger stops, so the Elite Series controllers, both the Elite Series 2 and the Elite Series Core, both have the setting of the trigger stops. So on the left, I have it on its normal press, so I'm actually fully pressing the paddle inwards, so going from it where it starts fully inwards and still getting a full press as soon as I touch it. I just don't like having on the maximum, on the lowest possible press, just because it feels weird on my left hand and actually hurts like my fingers when I do that. So, but on the right side, I do have it so that as soon, like, basically I can barely press the trigger. That is basically how the trigger works. And of course that works with the back bit, and what you'll see is you have 3 settings: minimum, medium, and the minimum possible press on the trigger. I have it set to the minimum possible press on the trigger. So it's basically, as soon as I press it, that's it, it's done. I can't press that any further on that trigger. So yeah, have these set to 0 to 1. That's what you want to do for, obviously, Call of Duty. If you're playing racing games, do not have these set to 0 to 1. Make sure you're using a different setting. I can't give you racing game settings because I don't play racing games, but I'm sure there's people out there who do obviously play racing games with the Elite Series controller who can give you settings for that. But do not have your settings to 0 to 1 when you're playing racing games. Your car just won't go anywhere, put it that way. Next up, vibration. You do not want the controller vibrating in your hand. I can't stress this enough. Just have this completely off. Plus, it'll increase the lifespan of your controller. The controller vibrating in your hands and having all these motors in here just vibrating around, it's just not going to help the controller have a long-lasting life. And then finally, the color. Doesn't really do anything, but I've heard red gives you more aim assist. No, I'm joking. It doesn't really, but you can change the color if you want to in the brightness of it. Me personally, I just like it on red because it looks pretty cool, because I've got the blue Elite Series Core controller, so it looks nice on it. But the only final thing I'll talk about is the Elite Series Core, a kind of a mini review. So the Elite Series 2 and the Elite Series Core controllers are both great controllers. They are the same controller. Again, one comes with paddles, one doesn't, but the Elite Series Core is massively cheaper, and I would buy that one, or at least I'd stress to buy that one, just because it's the same as the Elite Series 2, and you can buy second-hand paddles that aren't Microsoft's, and they're just as good quality and do the exact same thing. They'll allow you to use paddles properly and stuff like that. So I wouldn't buy the Elite Series 2 controller, but if you want the accessory case, if you do think you're going to carry it around and you want the battery thing and all the other accessories that come with like different thumbsticks and stuff, then feel free to do so. Also, actually, I didn't even stress that enough, actually. I haven't talked about this. The thumbsticks that I'm using, okay? So I am using my old Elite Series 2 thumbsticks on my Elite Series Core. And again, I'll talk about why I don't have the Elite Series 2. But on the left stick is the dome stick for me. And on the right stick is a default Xbox stick. However, on top of it, I do have a large, tool control freak, specifically a Black Ops 4 Edition control freak. And a little of a word here, I'm not sponsored by Control Freak in any way, nor am I sponsored by Microsoft as well. I thought I'd stress that as well. But on the right stick is my Control Freak, and Control Freak's absolutely brilliant. Like I said, I've got a Black Ops 4 one here that I've literally had since Black Ops 4. It's that amazing. They last forever, and it does such a great job of making it more comfortable for me. If you guys want to have that same feeling, but you don't want to buy Control Freak, you basically just use the tool stick on the right side. I just personally use the normal stick with the tool Control Freak because it's got more surface area, this Control Freak, and it's got a bit of rubber and everything, and it makes it easier for my thumb to stay on top of the controller. So yeah, left stick is a dome stick, right stick is the default Xbox stick with a tool Control Freak on top. But finally, like I said, mini review. It's a great controller. It has so many fantastic like options to accessorize, as you guys have seen. But the only thing I will stress for anyone who is new to getting a controller, and even those who might have one now, if you can possibly, get a warranty for this controller. The only massive downside to this controller, it does have the tendency to wear out, like, very quite quickly, I'd say. Each controller I've owned, so I've owned 3 different controllers now, 2 Elite Series 2 controllers and an Elite Series Core. Each have died. Well, besides the Elite Series Core, obviously this is the first time I've started using this. I've had this for about 3-4 months now. But the Elite Series 2 controllers, both times, it was the RB button that got broke. It just doesn't work anymore. And I replaced the controller. But basically, I didn't have a warranty for one of them, and I did for the other. So I was able to replace it with actually the Elite Series Core controller. So that's what I did. I went and bought the Elite Series Core controller because I basically the way my warranty worked for the warranty that I got was that I got the money back for that controller. So I decided to buy the Elite Series Core controller instead of the Elite Series 2. But yeah, they do have a tendency to wear out in about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. So try to take care of your controller and be like very careful with it. Obviously, making sure it's not going to fall off anywhere. That will obviously absolutely damage the controller. But obviously, if you have the accessories case, definitely put it in there. It will help protect it for longer. And I will say though, I do use this for very prolonged amounts of time. Like I will game for like 6 to 8 hours, and they last for me personally 2 years. Sorry, not 2 hours. If it lasted 2 hours, I wouldn't be buying the controller. But 2 years is what the typical life expectancy I get, at least before I have to replace them or use my warranty. So get a warranty, because the standard warranty only lasts a year, and if you ends up breaking the controller outside of the year warranty that you're given as standard, you're going to be in a bit of a mess, because obviously this controller is quite expensive. It is an expensive piece of kit. So definitely make sure you get an extended warranty with either your Elite Series 2 controller or Elite Series Core controller. But those are the settings for my Elite Series 2 or Elite Series Core controller. The settings for Modern Warfare 3, of course. If you have any questions about that, leave them down below in the comment section. I will answer them. I do this with previous videos. You'll see for Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops Cold War. I've done this type of video before. I will happily answer any questions you have about certain settings, different things like what to buy, the accessories and what they do and how to set up your controller. Let me know down below if you have any questions. I will absolutely answer them as best I can. And there's other people who will help answer them too. I've had that quite a few times in the comment section. So yeah, but for that's that section of the video done for the Elite Series Core controller. Next up, we're going to move over to giving you the Modern Warfare 3 settings, of course. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's move over to the Modern Warfare 3 settings. Right, and hello to those of you who are here for the Modern Warfare 3 settings or have finished watching the Elite Series Core controller, Elite Series 2 controller settings. Here it is. We're going to be discussing the Modern Warfare 3 settings for the year. These are the day 1 Modern Warfare 3 settings. I have been able to play in private match, so I'm not going to tell you how you guys did that, because I believe Activision is DMCA videos and stuff discussing that. So I'm not going to talk about that, just in case. I don't know what Activision will do. Obviously, by the time this video goes live anyway, all of us will be playing Modern Warfare 3, but I have had a mess around. I know what settings to run for the game, and these are the settings that you're going to want to be using for day 1 of Modern Warfare 3. Again, this is paired along with my Elite Series 2 / Elite Series Core controller, but if you guys have the standard PS4, PS5, Xbox One controllers, you name it, these settings will absolutely work and do well for you. But I'm going to give you guys ranges as well. I'm not just going to tell you what my settings are and, make sure that they are, tell you that these are the be-all and end-all and you have to use them. I will give you guys options on what to play around with and where you should have your settings for the start of Modern Warfare 3. So let's get into it. Let's talk about, first of all, the big one, the controller, of course. So edit button layout. Typically, this is, pretty normal. I have it set to tactical though. As you can see, that means my melee is B and my to change stance, slide, and dive is all on the stick. The only reason I have it like that is because I don't want to be pressing B to be able to crouch in that. I like it on the stick because obviously my thumb's already there. Yes, I do have paddles and I could possibly do it with using paddles, but I personally don't like having more than one paddle. We discussed that at the start of the video, of course. But I do have it set to the right stick. I use it so I can slide, dive, and of course, with slide cancelling being back this year, you're going to want to make sure you have this set to a comfortable setting where the stance, slide, and dive button is in the best and most comfortable position for you. So I'd personally recommend having it on tactical. Of course, you can keep it on B if you want to, but for me, and what I believe is the best, is to have it set to your stick so that whilst you're playing the game, you don't have to move your thumb off of the stick. Other than that, everything's the same as you'd expect, where you're firing, your weapon switching and all that. Those are all the same. Bumper ping off, don't have that. This, I know some people do this with PS4, PS5 controllers. Absolutely, you can do that if it works for you and makes it feel more comfortable. Me personally, I have this off. It does not work well on Xbox controllers, so I wouldn't recommend it with Xbox controllers, but I have that off. Stick layout preset, default, no one should be changing this. Controller vibration, absolutely have this off. You do not need this on. If you have been using this for years, turn it off. Trust me, get used to it, because you do not want the controller shaking around your hand. I don't understand why people use this setting, so you don't want the controller shaking around. Turn this off, and if you have been using it for you for years, get used to having it off. Trust me, it'll make a world of difference to your aim. Next up, this is a big one, dead zone inputs. And the good thing is they have the test stick zone dead zone. So as you can see, it shows where my stick is and everything. It slightly sits off center sometimes, but nothing crazy. It's not actual stick drift. Like, I won't move around in the game. But so with that, you can actually test whether you've got stick drift and stuff. So I definitely pay attention to that setting for you guys. But as you guys can see, I've got the left stick set to minimum of 5. Left stick maximum is 99. Right stick minimum is 5. And right stick max is 99. Left trigger is on 0, so as soon as I press the trigger, that action is going to happen. And the same with the right trigger. As soon as I press it, that action is going to happen because I've got it set to 0. But yeah, the reason I have it set to 5, even though I could have it probably set to 2 or 3 because my controller is relatively new, I think just having it at 5 is, a good start, is a good place to keep it, just so that when my controller does develop a bit more stick drift throughout the year, which it will do through usage, etc., but it doesn't have major stick drift. Basically, this will, I won't have to change my settings and have to get to a new sort of feeling when aiming and stuff. So yeah, I personally have these on 5, 99, 99, and then 0 and 0. Like I said, the left trigger and right trigger, you want to be pressing as soon as possible. So yeah, have these set to 0. And yeah, so that's that bit done. Next up, we're on to aiming. Okay, so stick sensitivity is a big one. Basically, you want to get this right. So for me, I believe you should have this either between 4 and I'd say 7 or 8. So that's where I'd recommend. Between 4 and 7 and 8 is about the right sensitivity that you want to have. Me personally, as you can see, I have it on 5. You do have a new advanced thing here that I haven't messed around with, but I don't feel like I need to. I've personally enjoyed it having it on 5.5 here. ADS sensitivity multiplier I've got on 1. Some people like to have this lower and have like higher sensitivities. You can absolutely do that. You can change this to like 9.9, so you can look around and change this to like 0.7 if you really want to. I don't personally like it like that. I like the consistent feeling. I feel like you should have it like this, 5.5 and a 1, just so you have that constant, same feeling whether you look up, top left, top right, bottom left, left, right, down, up, wherever you look is going to feel the same, progressing from, your center of your screen to that position you need to get to. Next up, you got these as well. You can change these if you want to. Again, I leave those. Vertical aim axis, leave all on standard. Tactical sensitivity multiplier, again, just leave it on 1. Personally, I have this off in the game, like to not use it. I'll talk about that more as we get to that setting, but I don't think this is going to be that useful a setting. It might be broken on day 1, I don't know, but I don't see a use for this in game. It's a cheap little gimmick thing. I don't feel like it's actually going to help in gunfights whatsoever. So you can use that if you want to. But I've personally got this just set to 1. I'm not really going to use this new mechanic that they've added. Aim response curve type. It's been in the game for a few years now. I'd be surprised if you're not already using it. But if you are not using dynamic, change to dynamic. It's by far and away the best aim response curve type in the game. It has been for a few years. You can still use standard, and you can get some success with linear. I wouldn't say any of these are really bad, but dynamic is definitely the best one out of the 3. If you aren't using it, then I don't know what you're doing, because it is just insane. And then keep this to 1. Again, this is something that's new. Maybe mess around with it in after a few months or so, but I don't see why you'd need to. Personally, I just leave that on 1 and then put on dynamic. ADS multiplier focus, just left on 1. You want the ADS sensitivity to take action as soon as you go to aim down sights. So yeah, have that set to instance. Custom sensitivity presume. If you want to change that for when you're using those higher scopes, such as when you're sniping that, absolutely feel free to do so. I personally don't. I have it set to off. Target aim assist, have this on, of course, if you're using a controller. No reason not to. Aim assist is there for a reason. It helps you stay on target and it makes it so much easier to aim. If you turn this off, I don't know what you're doing, okay? You're crazy. Next up, aim assist type. Now, pretty much, you've got the 2, okay? It's either default or Black Ops, but Black Ops, from what I could tell, is looking pretty good again, so I'm sorry PC players, but Black Ops is looking like the be-all end-all, and it's a great aim assist type. It basically follows the same pattern as Modern Warfare 2. The sense that the aim assist in this game isn't as good as Modern Warfare 2's, but it's still pretty good. So use Black Ops, with your aim assist on, of course, for here in Modern Warfare 3. And then third person ADS question. I don't think I'll be playing any third person modes, but if I do, it's on there. It's an assist. Next up, gameplay mechanics. So again, there's some more interesting things to talk about here. Automatic sprint this year, well, last year I said not to have this on at all because it, MW2 was not a game where you had the ability to be able to slide cancel and stuff. However, this year you could have it on any three of these. Okay, you can have automatic sprint, you can have automatic tactical sprint, or you can have it off. I've got it off still. I personally like doing the automatic tac sprint myself, but the automatic tac sprint will work very well in this game with the fact that you can now slide cancel in this game. So if you know how to do the slide cancel mechanic and you have that, type of, you're that experienced on the controller, going with the automatic tac sprint will absolutely be beneficial again this year, and you will be able to slide cancel to, knock off the effect of being an attack sprint. So yeah, I've got it on off, but you can use any of these settings absolutely fine. It's all personal preference on this one, I believe. So yeah, I've got that off. This one just left on toggle. Auto move forward, I've got it off, but if you want to have that on, that's perfectly fine as well. Single tap to run, I can't stress this enough. I feel like everyone should have this on regardless, because double tap, basically you're going to break your stick. If you're having to, tac sprint and stuff and you're not got automatic tac sprint, or even just being able to sprint and stuff in general, you want to have single tap to run so you can go into a tac sprint, instantly without having to double press. Don't have it on double tap. You want your controller to last as long as possible, and having it on single tap to run absolutely helps with that and will help prevent stick drift on your right stick, or left stick as well. But anyway, grounded mantle off. You don't want to be jump shotting and, getting caught jumping on things, so have that off. Same with automatic airborne mantle, same with automatic ground mantle. This doesn't mean you won't be able to mantle, by the way. You will still be able to mantle. It's just it'll be more of a forced thing, like you have to go up to it and press it yourself. When you're in a gunfight and you go near like one of these things like the cinder block things and stuff, you'll end up accidentally mantling and probably losing the gunfight. So have these off. Next up, slide dive behavior. I've got this tap to slide. So as soon as I tap it, I'll be able to slide. This will help you with being able to do the tac sprint and do slide cancel and stuff. But if you want to, you can have it on just slide only, so you don't even get the option to dive, which I might even put that on now that I've seen that. I don't know. I'm going to leave the dive for now. I'm going to give it a few tries and see if the dive has any use in this game as a mechanic. So for now, I'm just going to have it to tap to slide, and then obviously it'll be hold to dive for me. Don't have it on hold to dive and hold to slide and tap to dive. You want to be able to slide cancel, and being able to slide cancel, you either want on tap to slide or slide only. Those are the two options that I'd go with for now. Plunging underwater doesn't really matter. It's on trigger. I mean, I don't know how much water is going to be in this game. That doesn't really matter. This is all really Warzone stuff. And you got sprinting door dash. You definitely want that on to be able to run through doors. When there's doors on the maps, of course. There's not too many in this game. Slide cancel sprint. Absolutely, you want that on. You want to be able to, slide and cancel the sprint. So I have that on, absolutely. Aim down sight behavior on hold, of course. Sprint, tactical focus. Again, I've left that normal equipment behavior on hold. Double tap ADS. This is important. Don't want to be accidentally weapon mounting. It's not like weapon mounting isn't good, but if you're in a gunfight and you have it on ADS, you're gonna, as soon as you ADS, you're gonna mantle onto a barrel and stuff. It might throw your aim off. So have it on double tap ADS so that you can still be able to mount on stuff when appropriate, of course. But this will stop you from accidentally mounting onto things when you don't want to. Weapon mount exit delay, have it on short so that the moment, well, actually I'm going to have it on instant because it used to just only be short. I didn't know there was an instant there, and that must have been added. But anyway, have it on instant. The moment you move off of the barrel or whatever you're head glitching on, you can now move off of this instantly. So yeah, that's perfect. That's quite useful. Tactical stance activation. This is to make sure that I don't accidentally do this or have this going on whilst I'm trying to slide cancel and stuff. ADS and down button. That's how you want to have it. I don't think this mechanic's going to be that useful. It could be. Again, I might end up changing this, but I don't see the use of this mechanic. So I've got this on ADS and down button. Tactical stance behavior on toggle. So, you can toggle on and off. That's how I want this to, that's how I feel you should be using this. Interact reload behavior, tap to reload. Armor plate behavior, apply all. ADS stick swap, I've got off. Backpack control, D-pad, depleted ammo switch on. 1x1, C4. Manual fire behavior is press, and then all of this doesn't really matter. So yeah. That's those settings there. Next up, let's move on to the graphics settings. Of course, I'm skipping over the keyboard and mouse. Of course, we're not doing keyboard and mouse here. So let's get into it. Details and textures. On-demand texture streaming. This downloads, basically graphics and stuff whilst you're playing. You don't want this, okay? It doesn't make that big of a difference to the visuals. and it's just going to cause you lag and, you know, make your ping higher and stuff like that, and could cause you to, you know, even like crash out of games and stuff because of this. So have this off. You don't need it. Whether you're on PC or console, you don't need on-demand texture streaming. It's not worth it. If you have bad internet as well, you definitely do not want this setting on, because it's going to make it even harder for yourself. Next up, world motion blur, weapon motion blur off. Okay, as you can see, if you have this on, you can't see stuff. Like it just is all blurry around there outside. You're not going to be able to see anything. So you do not want these on. Absolutely turn these off if you want to be able to see players and be able to shoot at players. Same with the gun. Like, you don't want the gun to be blurry. You want to be able to see through your iron sights properly. So again, have that off. Film grain, absolute minimum as possible. As you can see on the right, it just looks horrible. It's grainy. It looks weird. You want it to be a smooth looking image. So having film grain all the way off will do that for you. Depth of field, again, off. As you can see, it blurs things again. You don't want things to be blurry on the outside. So again, have that off. Fidelity cast, have this on. And again, fidelity cast strength, have it on 100. If you're on one of those older consoles like PS4 or an Xbox One, absolutely have this on. This will help make the game look visually better, because I know those consoles are going to struggle a little bit with looking visually better, and this setting will massively help that. But if you are on a PS5 or an Elite Series console, absolutely have this on as well. It will still help make the game visually better for you people. Eco mode preset, I have this on off. Again, it doesn't say that it does, like, you know, it just says it helps decrease your console's energy consumption. However, you know, I don't trust this being on and not sort of like, you know, depleting some sort of power from the game. I know it says it doesn't, well, it doesn't say it there, but it did in the last game. I'm not sure it's going to do that, so I've personally have this off. If you can, and you have the monitor capable to do so, and of course the console, you know, PS5 or an Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S, to be able to play at 120 FPS, and you have the monitor, like I said, have this on. It's just way better than playing at 60 FPS. It's an absolute game changer. If you don't, possibly invest in being able to get 120 FPS, you know, by having a better console if you don't have one, or if you do have an Xbox Series X or S and or a PS5 and you don't have the ability to do 120 FPS, you need to get yourself a monitor that does 120 FPS. It's absolutely be all end all. It changes the game. It is so much better. It's unbelievable. So definitely have that on if you can. This is a biggie. This does kind of affect, you know, how your aim settings work and stuff, because it's the feel of your sensitivity in that. Field of view, you got to get this right. Anywhere between 105, well, actually, I think you could even go 110 in this game, actually, or 95, I'd say. But for me personally, the sweet spot for me is 103, with the field of view unaffected and weapon of field of view on wide. And the reason I got it on wide is because it makes the visual recoil of weapon just so little. Like, it's almost like none now. And especially with this game having way less weapon visual recoil than Modern Warfare 2, it's going to be a game changer. So absolutely, in my opinion, 103 on wide. Thank me later. Trust me, it'll make your aim settings will work well with this. And of course, you'll have less visual recoil whilst you're trying to shoot people. It's just amazing. It's better. And you can see people, of course, around the map still. Next up, least, you want this on as least as possible. This stops the camera shaking around whilst you're trying to aim and shoot and stuff. So have this on minimum as possible, which is least 50. Unfortunately, you can't change it to 0, but have it on the least of 50%. Inverted flashbang, this is all personal preference. I personally like it on, so that the screen goes black, not white. So I'm not getting flashbanged, actually, like in real life. I can actually, you know, have it on black and not lose my eyesight before the age of 30, I hope. Anyway. But next up, third-person ADS transition to first-person. Doesn't really matter. Brightness, this is all personal preference. It's going to depend on your monitor and what your monitor, you know, settings and stuff. I can't speak for every monitor, of course, because every monitor is different. But for me, it looks to be good for me for 47. So play around with this. I think you guys will know what will look good for you. But anywhere around the 50 mark pretty much is going to be all right. But 47 is what I go with. Safe area. This is an important one, okay? I don't think people think this is important, but it actually is. Have this as on minimum as possible. Decrease this to be as close to the center of the screen. The reason for that being your mini-map on that gets dragged into the center of the screen. So instead of having to look up to the far top left-hand corner when you're gaming and, you know, not be able to stay and look at the center of the screen where you might see an enemy or something, when you're trying to look at the mini-map will be as close to the center of the screen, so you don't have to look too far away from the center, so you can still concentrate on trying to aim and shoot at people whilst being able to also, you know, potentially look at the mini-map for, of course, red dots, because we have red dots back this year. So the mini-map is going to be important this year, guys. Make sure you have this set to minimum as possible so you can see the mini-map in the center of the screen, of course. So yeah, that's that done for the graphics. Next up, the audio, headphone bass boost, master volume, got it on 100, and basically I've carried over the same settings for Modern Warfare 2 because they work just the same. The sound sounds pretty good in this game. Like, it sounds better than Modern Warfare 2's. So Modern Warfare 3, you want to have the 0, 30, 100, 100, and 0. Can't speak on everyone's headsets, of course. Everyone's headset sounds different, but I think this is the the standard audio settings. Headset settings, I can't really give those because obviously everyone has different headsets and stuff. These don't really matter. It's all mic settings and stuff. I'll sort those out so we can get some fun rage reactions, of course, going through the game. Reduced tinnitus sound, I've got this on. You kind of want to save your ears a little bit, and then finally we're going to move on to the interface. So there's nothing crazy here again. Default color customization. This, you can change your squad color members. So I've got the mine set to this. Personally works well for me. But this will change how the game looks. So you definitely want to do this. Set it to filter 2. Set it to both. And then have these both with the 100, 100. Your game will look visually way better. It'll just be a lot more clear. You'll be able to see enemies a lot more clearer with these settings. So definitely have that going on. Minimap shape, if this is on circle for you for whatever reason, change it back to square. It should be on square. You get, as you can see, you get more of a minimap with square, so definitely use square. Have it on rotation as well. Horizontal compass doesn't really need to be on. Crosshairs I actually have off. I don't use them. I just use the center dot, and then I have the center dot on default. Don't really need the crosshairs in my opinion. I don't use them personally, but you can have that on if you really want to. But yeah, hit marker visuals on, of course. Damage-based hit markers on, so you're actually hitting the target and stuff. And then, so I can see my server latency and packet loss, I've also got these on, just in case I'm in a laggy lobby, and I want to know if I'm in a laggy lobby. Other than that, that is it. That is the Modern Warfare 2, sorry, we're moving on from Modern Warfare 2. It's the Modern Warfare 3 / Modern Warfare 2.5. All right, we're going to make that joke, Modern Warfare 2.5. It could be Modern Warfare 2.5. We'll see how the year plays out, but it kind of is Modern Warfare 2.5, let's be honest. But Modern Warfare 3, best settings, and again at the start of the video was the Elite controller settings. Any questions about today's video, such as settings for Modern Warfare 3 or the Elite controllers, the settings themselves, feel free to post them down in the comments down below. I will answer them as best as I can, and of course there are other people who will be able to help answer your questions also. If there's anything you are confused about or just want to know a little bit more information about that I didn't cover very well or didn't cover in the video at all, let me know down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's hope for a good year in Modern Warfare 3, and I hope these settings help you out on day 1 of Modern Warfare 3. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe notifications on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye!